For years, Bitcoin was the lifeblood of the dark web. It was the untraceable digital gold that fueled a massive criminal empire. But that empire is starting to crack, all because of one huge misunderstanding, a secret hidden in Bitcoin's own code that turned their perfect getaway car into a permanent, undeniable trail of evidence. Let's get into exactly how that happened. That quote right there, it just nails the new reality. For criminals, those digital shadows they used to hide in are just vanishing. The very tool they thought made them ghosts in the machine is now shining a massive spotlight on them. So let's unpack how this incredible shift happened.
All right, to really get why Bitcoin became the currency for criminals, we've got to step into their world for a minute, the sprawling, anonymous marketplaces of the dark web.
For a long time, the dark web has been running like its own shadow economy. A hidden digital world where being anonymous isn't just a feature, it's the entire foundation. This is the bedrock of modern cybercrime. I mean, think of it like a twisted Amazon for crime. You've got everything from ransomware as a service, where basically anyone can rent malware, to these huge marketplaces selling stolen credit cards and data. And the engine that powered all of this was supposed to be untraceable digital cash. And for a while, Bitcoin seemed absolutely perfect. It was fast, it didn't care about borders, and everybody believed it was completely anonymous. But that core belief, that idea of total anonymity, was built on a massive flaw, a permanent fingerprint that they could never, ever wash away. And this right here, this is the big secret, the one thing that would bring down entire criminal operations. It's the very nature of Bitcoin itself. You see, unlike a regular bank where all the records are private, Bitcoin runs on a public ledger. It's called the blockchain. Every single transaction, from the very first one all the way to the one that just happened 5 seconds ago, it's all recorded there. It is permanent, it's unchangeable, and this is the key, it's visible to absolutely anyone who wants to look. This slide just cuts right to the chase. You have the myth on the left, total anonymity. These wallets are just ghost accounts. But the reality on the right is a permanent public trail. Criminals thought their wallets were untraceable masks, but the second they try to cash out through a regulated crypto exchange, one that requires an ID, that mask gets ripped right off. Their real name gets permanently tied to that supposedly anonymous wallet, and their entire history is laid bare for all to see. Anonymity isn't just gone, it's completely shattered. So with this permanent trail of evidence just sitting out in the open, a whole new career path was born. It's time to meet the blockchain detectives. Their number one technique is something called taint tracking. Okay, imagine a bank robber grabs cash, but a dye pack explodes all over it. As they spend that money, the red dye spreads from person to person. Taint tracking is the exact same thing, but for digital money. Once a crypto wallet is linked to a crime, it gets tainted, and investigators can follow that digital stain as it moves across the blockchain. And here's how they connect the dots so well. First, they use really sophisticated software to cluster different anonymous addresses that are probably controlled by the same person. Then, they just follow the money, watching those tainted funds hop from wallet to wallet until, bam, they hit the weak link, a crypto exchange that requires an ID. All it takes is a subpoena, and suddenly that anonymous wallet has a real name, a real address, and a real person attached to it. It's pretty much game over. And we're not talking about some person manually sifting through data. Nope. Law enforcement agencies are using powerful software from companies like Chainalysis and Elliptic that automate all of this detective work. It lets them see the flow of illicit money in real time. This tech has totally flipped the script. Okay, so this stuff isn't just theory. These are the real-world tools that have taken down massive criminal enterprises. Let's look at some big examples. You almost certainly remember this one, the Colonial Pipeline attack. A ransomware group known as DarkSide shut down a huge piece of America's fuel infrastructure, and it caused absolute chaos. The company ended up paying the ransom. They sent over about 75 Bitcoin, which was worth millions of dollars, to the hackers. And the criminals thought they'd gotten away clean, that the money had just vanished into the anonymous void of the blockchain. Well, they were wrong. The FBI literally just opened up the public ledger and started following the money. They watched every move as the hackers desperately tried to shift the funds through different wallets to cover their tracks. But it didn't work. The investigators traced the funds all the way to a specific wallet. Once they did that, they were able to get control of the private key. Think of it like the secret password for the wallet. And just like that,
They recovered almost the entire ransom. This was a massive public signal that Bitcoin payments are not untraceable. And this is not a one-off, not even close. Tracing Bitcoin was absolutely essential in taking down Welcome to Video, a horrifying child abuse ring, and it helped identify suspects in 38 different countries. It was also crucial in dismantling the infamous Silk Road and Alpha Bay marketplaces. So yeah, the point is, this works, and it works at a huge scale. So with their favorite tool now turned into a liability, you might think the fight is over, right? Not quite. The game has just evolved into something way more complex. You know, as the investigators get better at blockchain analysis, the criminals have to adapt. They're now using more complicated tricks, like mixers, which are services that basically throw their dirty money into a big digital blender with clean money to try and confuse the trail. They're also chain hopping. That's where they quickly swap Bitcoin for a more private crypto and then back again, all in a desperate attempt to break that chain of evidence. But law enforcement is adapting just as quickly. International partnerships are stronger than they have ever been. Agencies like Europol and the FBI are sharing intelligence, coordinating takedowns, and basically creating a global net that's closing all the little cracks the criminals used to slip through. And this brings us to the final, really critical question. The secret's out, criminals know Bitcoin is a trap, and they're scrambling to find alternatives. They're moving to privacy-focused coins and using more complex ways to launder their money. So the chase is far from over. But while the tools on both sides are going to keep evolving, the core principle of this fight is going to stay the same. You can't hide if there's a trail to follow. And on the blockchain, there is always a trail.